Hello, this is Pat Lynch, and you are listening to the Career Pathways podcast, brought to you from the luxurious KILT studios deep in the basement of the Mabee Simpson Library at Lyon College. Joining me, as always, is our crack podcasting team. Producer Jayson is where?
I'm in the back today.
Producer Jason's on the couch. And there's a reason why he is, because we have a new Career Pathways teammate joining us. Why don't you introduce yourself, young man?
Howdy, my name is Tyrese Hargrove, and happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you. We're going to have some good times together, Tyrese. All right,
sir.
Joining us today is Danell Hetrick. I got to make sure I get the title right. This is where I always go
it's
off straight. No, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students at Lyon College.
That's right.
All right. I think I've went 3 straight podcasts messing up people's titles, so
that one does not fit on a name tag, by the way.
Oh.
Or a business card.
All right.
Very small font.
We start out the podcast just getting to know someone. So kind of tell us about yourself, kind of where you're from, kind of your journey that kind of led you to arrive here at Lyon College.
Yeah, well, as I was telling you earlier, it's been quite the journey. So I really, if we want to start with Lyon itself, I came to Lyon as an adjunct faculty member in 2014. Yeah. At that time, I was still in grad school, had another job, so I was not full-time. I had one class teaching comp. And then, 2016 is when I came to Lyon part-time as the supplemental instruction director, which, quickly bloomed into a full-time role and led to the MAC as we know it today.
So that's where the MAC kind of was created.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I got to Lyon in that role, there was just an SI program. And then was the English department had a writing center.
Right.
So we kind of consolidated. Consolidated. I asked Dr. Robbins if we could take it over.
And she did not have any problem.
She did not have any problem with that.
Yeah.
And as an English nerd, like the writing center was my jam. That's what I did in grad school. So I really wanted to take that over. And then we added tutoring.
Right.
And then, it just grew into a full-fledged academic support center. And then over time, disability services was added, testing services, all of that. And eventually I was asked by the president to serve as the interim VP for Student Life and Dean of Students. And Donald took over at the MAC, and he's doing an amazing job. Yeah. You love to see people step in who are going to make it even better than it was, and I think he's definitely done that. So, and then I was offered the position full-time in 22, I believe, in May of 22.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with, because I remember I hired on as interim director of career services, and I had all these friends worried for me because it's like, is this just like a temporary thing, or, is it like a 90-day trial and then they can return it,
Yeah.
No, and I guess that's just standard practice in academia that even Melissa, Kurt, they kind of had that interim tag for however long.
There were a lot of us that had the interim label for a while.
All in that same
we
period.
Were in an interim
that's why
period.
I looked around.
Does anybody stay around here very long?
Yeah. Student life. What is the component student life at Lyon College?
Well, whenever I am sitting in on or presenting during discovery days or anything like that, to potential students, I always say that student life is what happens outside of the classroom or off of the field or court or whatever your sport is. It's everything else. So student life is what it sounds like. It's your life here on campus, housing, food, religion, all of those things. So, we have several departments within student life.
Right.
There's the clinic, campus clinic, which has, I should back up, health and wellness that has the campus clinic and the counselor. And
the
then
counselor meaning Victoria?
Victoria, the director of mental and behavioral health.
Right.
And then there's campus safety, Safe Scots, housing, student involvement, which includes organizations and activities, SGA, Honor and Social Council, LEAP, student conduct. It's a pretty robust component.
Oh, goodness. And so then you have, obviously you have people that are all in those respective roles.
Yeah.
What, as far as like with housing, because that's such a big role just in and of itself.
It's a beast, yeah.
Yeah. Because what percent of students live on campus?
Oh, gosh. Well, we are primarily residential.
Residential, right.
So the majority of our students do live here. And there are a lot of them. Out of the 660-ish students that we have, nearly 500 of them are living here on campus. So, yeah, it's a big percentage.
And then
it's a lot of people to look out for.
Yeah. And so how's that organization work then? Because you have kind of two directors, and then then there's people, and it spreads out from there with resident assistants.
It's a whole network. So there is the director of campus living, and then there are professional resident directors who are actual full-time staff. Right now, our poor director of campus living, Allison Trumbull, she is serving as an RD and as the director. So she, until we get more staffing in there, she's having to double up, which, happens a lot in any institution of higher ed. We wear a lot of hats. But then there's KB Thomas. She's the other resident director. And under them is a whole team of RAs, resident assistants, who are students.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, interesting. What's the biggest challenges in managing residential? Because that's like being a landlord in some ways.
In a lot of ways. In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, and you've put them in a box together. So that's, naturally going to present challenges.
What could possibly go wrong?
So, we're talking from all kinds. I'm not just talking like socioeconomic backgrounds or anything like. Although that's definitely a factor, but you're also talking about different raising and different family structures and different understandings of what is and is not appropriate when you're living communally. So really getting people, one of the goals for us, which is also a struggle for us, and I think that's the case anywhere, is teaching people how to live together. How to do that in a harmoniously, ideally, but at the very least, learn how to talk through those differences, because it is going to happen. And it's an important lesson to learn, because, goodness, we all have to, at some point, we're going to live with somebody.
Yeah. And
you need to know how to resolve differences, and rather than just running away from them. And so that's a struggle. A lot of students, they want to just move their room, but not only can we not do that right now because we don't have any have any wiggle room, but when you do that, if you just move out of the situation, you're not learning how to overcome whatever adversity is in front of you. So that's getting that message across is a challenge sometimes.
And so student life gets involved in those conversations.
Oh yeah. Yeah. From every level. So you start with your RA, and if that doesn't work, you move on up the ladder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that one thing with residential housing is that we're kind of at our limit, aren't we? As far as
82% capacity.
Okay.
Which doesn't, I mean,
Yeah, it
you
sounds
think,
like
well, we've got
18,
some wiggle room.
yeah.
Yeah, but no. I mean, that means like a handful of rooms. And whenever you're looking at needing to keep some rooms in reserve for emergency situations, we have some showrooms that we like to leave open for tours and things like that, which we have had to take away some of them. And then you have to have so many ADA rooms as well. So, we really just have maybe a handful of beds that are left open on campus after all that.
Yeah, because I heard like you, and you know much more than me, but at the trustee meeting they were talking about just having architects on campus, just trying to draft some kind of plan. But gosh, that seems like that to me is long term.
Yeah.
And if we continue expanding enrollment like we are, we're going to have something, something facing us.
Yeah.
Fall of 2025.
Yeah. I'm in and out of meetings all the time trying to think of solutions to housing.
Yeah.
We're capacity is such right now that if we get another class that's the size of our last two incoming classes, or even half of that, because our senior class is so small this year, we can't house all those people. So it will be. It's good that we have the twins back online, Wilson and Rogers and McRae. It's good that we have Sturbridge, the apartment complex, back online. Love Hall is offline for the moment, but it'll be back up in the spring, so that'll give us a little more room. But yeah, we've just been exploring our options. Long term, we know we're going to need some new construction.
Right.
In the short term, we're seeing what other solutions there might be out there. So we haven't landed on anything yet.
Yeah. A day in the life of what would be like a typical day if there is one. I mean,
atypical is typical, right?
Right.
Like we are constantly challenged by surprise, by human elements. There are many times that we just look at each other through the glass of our offices like, what on earth was that? So, but usually, you get to work, you try to get caught up on all those emails like everyone else does. Try to prioritize the emergencies and, just deploy all your people in all the areas that they need to be placed and, hope that at the end of the day, you don't have more crises than you did coming in. And it's not bad. It's not all bad,
Sure.
But it's definitely whenever you have a component that is as large as student life and that is as involved in the day-to-day lives of students as it is. I mean, it's not just you come to the office, you meet with a few students and you go home for the day and don't think about it anymore. I mean, I leave the office and I'm answering phone calls and emails in the middle of the night because, there are sometimes emergencies and it doesn't shut off. That's what I tell anyone who comes into student life who's new to student affairs. Like, if this is not 9 to 5, this is, you go home and you wait for the next phone call.
Oh,
so
okay. You're like on call.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're always on call.
Yeah. How does student life fit into the overall mission of Lyon College? I know you hear it from Melissa, I hear it from Kurt, in terms of, here's our mission. And then how is it that what you do contributes to that mission? So how do you see what student life contributing to the mission?
So, we talk about in a liberal arts institution, you want a well-rounded education, right? So, some of your gen eds here are going to be different than they would be at, let's say, University of Arkansas. You're not going to get that same sort of in-depth and well-rounded education. But it does not stop when 4 o'clock rolls around and all the labs let out, right? There's more learning to be done. There's learning to be done outside of the classroom. Just as I was talking about negotiating some of those more difficult situations between residential students, like that's another form of being a well-rounded person. Learning how to be engaged civically, learning how to, prioritize a lot of your organizational commitments that you have. There's so much to learn outside of, whatever, whether you're an English major or, there's so much more to learn outside of the classroom. And that's what we try to contribute to in student life. The mission doesn't just stop whenever you get out of college. Right. The mission of Lyon. We want you to be that kind of person that is well-rounded and has a lot of varied life experiences. Well, you might not take your books out of college, but you're definitely going to take those interactions, those human interactions outside of college. So we really try to help students develop in that way as much as possible.
This is a podcast about careers.
Yeah.
And, so you have kind of an interesting career in that when you graduated, you a master's in English, yes, from Arkansas State.
Yes.
All right. Whew, boy, I've got all
You're
my
on
facts.
it.
Yeah. Today I'm hitting it. Trust me, I'll find a way to mess up later. But what was the career plan at that point in your life? Where did you see yourself?
So I wanted to teach. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go on and get my PhD, and I, wanted to be an English professor.
All right.
That was the plan.
And then okay, life obviously changed. So then what was it? Just one thing led to another thing?
Yeah, like so many other people's plans. I mean, I was the same way. I hear students who they say, well, I'm going to do this. And then 4 years later, they come back and they talk to me and they're like, well, I didn't do this because of X, Y, and Z. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. Like, that's exactly what happened to me. You just adapt and find the next best thing. And that's kind of what happened with me. I've got when I was in grad school, I was already working at the Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. And I really was involved in community development, whether that was through, chamber programming or behind the scenes with grant writing. And, you sort of become passionate about those things too. And so I've just always been one of those people that I felt like I could just kind of be a chameleon, I guess. I could go over here and do this and go over here and do that and, try really hard and be successful at it. Yeah. So it's just kind of been a around the world experience. PhD program. I never even applied.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I went into my master's program thinking that that's what I was going to do. That was my trajectory. Right. And then I just got busy with other stuff that I liked. Mm-hmm. And so, just go from there.
If there's a student out there that says, I want to do exactly what Danell is doing right now, kind of, what advice would you give that student? Run?
No, because as stressful as it is and as challenging as it is, it is fulfilling work.
Yes.
You don't always win. And by that, I mean, you're not always going to leave the office every day thinking, okay, today was a good day. Right. There are some very, very hard days. And by that, I mean days when students have an issue that you can't fix it for them, or, heaven forbid you have to expel someone, those are horrible days. Yeah. But I would tell anybody who wants to be in this position that I'm in right now is to keep an open mind, explore all possible routes in terms of solving a problem. Think of all the worst cases scenario, and just stick to your values in a situation. Figure out what those are and stick to them.
Yeah, it's tough because I've had people explain to me that that you face something where you got two bad. It's like two bad outcomes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh yeah, you're going to solve it and it's going to be that storybook ending. No, there's two equally bad outcomes, and you just have to evaluate. Okay, which one you're going to take.
And you have to be willing and able to take a lot of heat for those decisions.
Yeah.
A lot of criticism sometimes, and whether that's from the students themselves or the parents, or even from internally, like, did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
And so it's definitely, I would tell anybody who's looking to get into a career such as this one, you prepare yourself for that.
Yeah, because right or wrong, you do take a lot of criticism, Danell. I mean, how do you kind of absorb it? Just kind of deal with it.
I have to have a good sense of humor, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's because it's not like I'm facing the challenges you are. I mean, I do everything I possibly can to help students, but I don't have to weigh in on the same things that you do. It's just part of that's part of your job.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are some days when it's just there's no shrugging it off, right? I mean, some days you just literally have to go home and cry because you've I mentioned expelling students earlier. You never want to do that,
right?
And that's someone's life. That's someone's educational future that you're basically, for the moment anyway, putting a stop to, and that's heavy.
Yeah.
But you just have to keep in mind that there's something bigger than that one student. There are all the others, right? And then there's, also the institution of education. Like, we're all here for a purpose. And if we're not achieving that purpose, then we probably don't, we have to stay focused. And if anything that makes us veer from that, just.
Yeah. Well, in a way, you probably are is closely aligned with kind of the culture here in Lyon, almost like a vibe check that you can, you have a much closer sense of what's going on than like many of the faculty and staff that they see. Students are there, but they're not as plugged in as you are.
Yeah, it's funny because I have seen both sides of that.
Yeah.
When I was over in academic support, I saw one side of the students,
right.
And it was a side that, at the time, the people over in student life weren't getting to see. Right. And sometimes you can, I would be at odds with the people over in student life. Like, how could you, blah, 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 how we right. snip at each other sometimes. And then I got over there in student life. I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, this is a completely different side of these people that, same people that I would be seeing over in the MAC. And then I'd see them through this lens. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
You have a different persona for, whatever stage you're on, I guess. So
now you're heavily involved with the honor, as far as the honor council. Just maintaining the honor code, which is explain what the honor code is at Lyon.
So the honor code, it's a set of guidelines and a set of values that we have claimed as an institution, as a community, both in the classroom and outside of it. And every year, with every matriculation ceremony, everyone who comes into Lyon, whether that's as a staff member, a faculty member, student, they are asked to abide by this code. It's a code of conduct, academic conduct, and behavioral conduct. And get down to it, it says I'm going to act honorably in everything that I do. And the Honor Council exists to make sure that is upheld. that people are doing that. And if they stray from that, they find a way to bring them back to it, to remember that they pledged to follow the code. It's
Yeah. Where's the Honor Council now? Because I know student government was revising it. Is that correct?
So I call them the big three. There's SGA.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the top, right? And then right under them, there's the Honor Council and the Social Council.
Yes.
Both the Honor Council and the Social Council exist to uphold the honor code. Right. It's just how, is it behavioral or is it academic? Mm-hmm. So those are the big three organizations that are kind of, integral parts of being a student here. The Honor Council is in the middle of a transition phase. They're getting a facelift, I say. Yeah. They are changing some of their bylaws, and in order to do that, they have to have approval from the SGA, because the SGA is the governing arm of, governing body over those two councils. They're looking at revising some of those bylaws, bringing them into, I don't want to say the modern era, but they're making it applicable to students how they exist today, and how they operate today. And they're doing a great job of it.
Well, and I remember kind of in years past, it was difficulty getting students to want to be part of the Honor Council. Is that changing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and had you asked me in April of last year, I would have given you a completely different answer. But over the summer, some of them got together and they put pen to paper and they proposed some changes, and they've really gotten a lot of momentum. Mm-hmm. And we've both the social and the honor councils. The social council needs one more person to be full.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. And honor council, for the first time since I've been in my current position, has all of its freshman spots filled. And that's, usually historically been the hardest group to get to come on board. But yeah, they've just gotten this burst of energy, and I'm really proud of them for it. So, yeah.
Well, this interview is also a first here at Career Pathways, because we have our first political candidate. And so Danell, here it is. Look at this. Vote for Danell Hetrick.
Got my beautiful baby boys there.
School Board Zone 2.
Zone 2.
Zone 2.
Mm-hmm.
What motivated you to run for school board?
Well, I'm a mom. I have two kids in the school district. There's that. But, I'll go back to what I said about working at the chamber. I got involved in the community. Right. I grew up around here. I love this area. I didn't go to school in the Batesville School District, but community involvement has always been very important to me. And this seat was coming available. I was actually appointed to it back in early May.
Okay.
The school board member who was previously in the position stepped down, and the seat was open. And traditionally, someone is just appointed to that to finish out that term. So I kind of got to test drive it a little bit, and I thought, I really enjoy this. And it is, in a lot of ways, what I do here at Lyon. Right. It's a lot of, trying to carve out a better path for students. And a lot of the things that I'm passionate about here are the exact same things that I want to bring to the school district. Mental health, student mental health, student behavior, school safety.
Right.
And then, open lines of communication between all of the stakeholders. that's all of those things are important to me here. And there's just there are so many parallels with being on the school board. And, when your babies are in there too, it becomes even more important to you. But,
Yeah, I was on a parent advisory council at my daughter's school, and it's just you see it from a very different angle when you're working with faculty and administrators, and it was a great experience. I'm sure I'm sure you're going to win. Okay, vote for Danell.
I appreciate that. I certainly hope so, because the district itself is in a challenging place. And, much like Lyon has been in challenging places.
Challenging in what way?
Well, we've got a lot of, if you've paid attention to the district news over the last year, there's been some turnover in administration. We've had a lot of students who have choiced out of the district, a lot who have choiced in too. So that's good. But there are some financial hurdles that we've got to get over. We have a brand new school facility going up.
At the high school?
At the high school, that has to be managed. And then, we're kind of, looking down the barrel of the LEARNS Act, and how, there are good things about that, but then there are also some really challenging pieces to that. And one of those pieces is the voucher program. Right. All kind of trying to figure out how that's going to have an impact on any school district, really. So it's challenged in that way.
Yeah. You a moment ago, you talked about mental health, and I wanted to ask you about that here at Lyon, because that, I didn't want to be that kids these days and, get off my lawn, what's this mental health stuff, just study, why don't you? And I've got a lot more attuned to it, and students who really can have more genuine conversations with me, and as students in my class, and so and then I just started to learn more, and I like Victoria is a relatively new position, isn't it? Or was there somebody in her that role before her?
Yeah. So the counselor, we've had a counselor since the early 90s, late 80s. Yeah. Yeah. But Victoria is new to her role in that she's the newest person to serve in that capacity. But she's also, when she came on, we created a partnership with White River Health System. So she's actually an employee of White River, but she is stationed more or less here on campus, and she only serves our community, our students. So it's a, really cool partnership in that we have additional resources, mental health resources for students that prior to the partnership we didn't have. And, it's just been really great for our students. It has really met them where they are. And because student needs have changed so much over even the last few years since I've been in my role. There's a new challenge, a new set of situations that students find themselves in day to day that we have to rise to that challenge. And so it's allowed us to be pretty nimble in that way, to meet them. Now we are starting to see that her time has become a little tight. Like she is full all the time. I've
heard that.
Yeah, I would really like to get a second person in there. I think that the need is there. Now I don't know what that looks like. I don't even know where we are in terms of that being a possibility right now. But I definitely think that if we had even someone part-time in there, that we would see even more people coming in through there. And I think that's amazing. I think that's great. That's not to say that we have people coming in there in crisis mode all the time, although that does happen. But people who are just being proactive about their mental health. Students are doing that at levels that they haven't done in a long time.
It's I think it's also really nice to see it's more of a generational change where I see young adults these days much more open just to talk about that. Where like when I was their age. No, it
was taboo.
Yeah,
Tough it out.
You wouldn't tell anyone.
Yeah,
and just suffer quietly.
Yeah,
and now at least hopefully this can be a change for the positive.
Yeah, well, and it's not even suffering, right? It's also just learning how to adapt to different scenarios. Right. You don't have to be in a state of depression, although if you are, you definitely should seek those resources. But if you're even struggling to adapt to college life, or, you never had a roommate before,
right.
If you don't know if you don't have the tools that you need to meet those challenges or those coping skills, you're going to have all kinds of other issues. It starts internally. And then, kind of even like with one of the things I'm focusing on in my campaign is mental health in the school district.
Right.
A lot of behavioral issues that we see at the K-12 level are the result of not having the mental health resources that we need or the training that we need to help students through that, like trauma-informed practices and things like that. So, you could just say, just put your head down and study, but you can't study if you're not, if you don't have a clear head or know how to best manage yourself. So I see students working on themselves every day, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, because that's where it's great being able to be in a faculty role, because I've seen that, where I can see the talent, and then I can see the roadblock, kind of the roadblock that they have, and how, and just how they, with the right help, right counseling, right person to talk to, they can kind of clear that path and be their best self.
And being open about it helps people help you too. You could, in the classroom, you have a student who's struggling. Well, you don't know if they're just being lazy or if they're depressed, So if a student comes to you and says, hey, I'm really struggling with, anxiety or whatever the case may be, then you have a little more insight. And you know that, hey, it's not, I'm not taking your class seriously. Yeah. It's that I have narcolepsy, okay? I just fall asleep all the time. So.
My wife, Sandy, she actually had, she was a piano tuner and had, one of her tuners had narcolepsy, and we shouldn't laugh, but he'd be working in the back room on a piano, ding, 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 and he'd be asleep, and
you have to have a sense of humor, right?
Yeah, well, he did. He's a really wonderful man, and and then they just let him, and he would wake up, and all was good. But that was just his thing that you knew he was just going to go. He's going to have his moments during the day.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got off on that. Goodness gracious.
Well, that's good conversation, right?
Yeah. What's one kind of close on something really super positive? What's some really good things you see going on at here at Lyon College? Maybe even in Batesville in general.
So I am impressed every single day by students and their ability to find solutions to problems and to lead and to step up when something needs to get done. I mean, all the time. I just got out of a training for social counsel, and I'm just always so proud of students when I see them taking charge of things like that. One of the things that I have seen is a renewed investment in, really a sense of ownership of Lyon. I've been here for a number of years. I've seen a lot of classes come through. I've seen really, really passionate students. They're throughout all of my years here. Some of them were more passionate about, making Lyon better than, I mean, not that everyone isn't, but, we had a generation of students who were kind of disconnected from Lyon for so long, even though they were enrolled here because of the pandemic. They couldn't be involved.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. I've seen that low point. And then I've seen us growing out of that and the resilience there. I just love that. I think Lyon students will always be resilient. But one of the things that I'm seeing, and you mentioned Batesville, is that there are more connections. I think we're seeing more connections with students, with the community than we have in some time. And what I mean by that is just look at the service day numbers. I don't know if you've seen them, but last year we had like 800 and some odd numbers, and that was a record, or 800 some odd hours. That was a record. This year we had like over 1,200 service hours for service day. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's one day. And that just shows you like people are re-energized about that service element and giving back. And that's just something that I think Lyon students have always been really good about giving back. They've always been generous with their time. But I'm just seeing it more and more. And I think that's great. That's super positive in terms of students.
What better way to close?
Yeah. There
All
you
right.
go.
Well, thank you, Danell.
Thank you.
This has been a long overdue conversation.
No, I just thought you were avoiding me.
Yes. Well, ouch. But thank you for listening to the Career Pathways podcast. You can find us every week on wherever you get podcasts. Actually, I shouldn't even be saying that because producer Jayson always has the facts and the figures on where to find the Career Pathways podcast. What say ye, producer Jayson?
You can find the Career Pathways podcast on 99.97% of platforms, the same number of germs that get killed with Germ-X, and yeah. All
right. And we got to give a golf clap to producer Tyrese. Welcome, Tyrese.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, we look forward to many shows with you. So thank you again for listening, and please join us every week on the Career Pathways podcast. Take care. Bye.
This broadcast is sponsored in part by Lyon College and by KILT Studios.